Hello, guys, and welcome back to the Yellow Squared podcast, the podcast hosted by two brothers. And this week we've got a bit of a bumper episode, even though we're trying to keep it a little bit shorter for you to enjoy the viewing experience. So we're going to be talking about the win against Birmingham very quickly, and then we're going to be moving on to the main section of the podcast this week, Wigan, the disappointing draw at home to bottom side Wigan. But first, let me introduce you to my brother. Good evening, James.
Good evening, everyone. How we doing?
And we'll start off with the comfortable 3-0 win over Birmingham. James, you went to the fixture midweek. Let's hear about it.
Yeah, I did. Evening, everyone. I was at the game. It was a good game to be at. It was nice to be sort of leaving Vicarage Road on, I would say, a high. But it was nice to sort of leave there having a relatively routine win, and a little bit of optimism. I think the key things from that game was there was a lot more kind of attacking intent and a new shape that was being implemented by Chris Wilder,
Yeah,
and the side, and they looked to be really determined to get the ball wide quickly and ask questions of the Birmingham defence. And I mean, in the first half, that was probably the most comprehensive performance that we'd played this season.
yeah,
I thought Sema and Ngakia were wonderful. Particularly Ngakia, who we'll talk about as well in the Wigan game. But
yeah,
he's made 2 appearances in a week, and having under different systems and different managers been sort of put to one side as not good enough. He's really shone for me
yeah,
in the last 2 games. So all credit to him. He hit the post with a rasping drive. I was sat almost directly behind it, so I saw the ball flight the whole way, and I was willing it to bend at the last minute, but it didn't. So fair play to him. But no, the Birmingham game, the first half was superb. I thought the system worked really well. I liked it was Bakuna that sort of sat in the middle and sat deep, and that actually allowed Kone and Loser to push forward and join
yeah,
João Pedro and
yeah,
Davis up front,
definitely.
where they were just causing all sorts of problems to Birmingham, who were poor, really poor in that first half, and we put them to the sword, and it was kind of done. I think what was also really nice to see was a little bit of the Chris Wilder flair with centre backs. That was nice.
Yeah,
Hoot and Porteous were definitely pushing forward and filling space. Hoot more so than Porteous, and Hoot was a real outlet, actually, I thought.
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and it was really positive. But I think as good as the first half was at Birmingham, the second half didn't start particularly well. We let them into the game. Obviously,
yeah,
Birmingham couldn't really um, do much worse, and they had to have a rocket put up them by John Eustace, and they came out sort of firing a slight couple of changes, and they put us under pressure, and they you can argue whether or not they should have had 1 or 2 goals, but they did have chances to score,
yeah,
but we rode out that storm, and then we got that third goal, Britt Assombalonga. No obvious congas I couldn't see in the Vicarage Road. It was quite subdued, but it was delighted for him to score. But a real point of note was that it was made by Kone,
yeah,
who he's really blossomed for me and under Wilder, and he looks really comfortable and confident on the ball, and it was a real wonderful driving run
yeah,
by Kone that created the goal, and Assombalonga, all he could do really was get a foot on it to tuck it away.
yeah,
Nearly managed to miss it, but
yeah,
it did go in. But all things considered, that was the kind of performance that you would expect a side like Watford to put in against a team on that run of form in Birmingham on a Tuesday night, and a kind of a no fuss, comfortable
yeah,
3-0 win. Um, but yeah, that was kind of my take on it. It was comfortable to a degree, barring a 15-minute period
yeah,
where Birmingham did trouble us. But you know, you've got to expect teams to come at you at some point, and they did, and rode our luck / rode it out. We did so, and yeah, 3-0. So that was really good. It was nice to be the clear system in place by Chris Wilder, and I left on Tuesday night, content.
Yeah, nice. I wasn't actually able to watch the Birmingham game. One of the few games I've missed in recent weeks.
Mm.
Rather unfortunately, as I've been told, we were brilliant. It's just really unfortunate that I've sat through so much rubbish recently to miss the game that we decided to show up. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've seen the highlights. I think that Birmingham could have had a goal or two. I think any other striker or professional football player in world football would score the Scott Hogan chance.
I don't know.
I don't even know what he's doing there. I mean,
Well,
Rain Man, I would give him a run for his money,
yeah,
but
I was going to say, look, strikers missing clear chances. We're going to talk about João Pedro this weekend in a minute.
yeah,
So
yeah. Well, yeah, I think maybe on another day that goes to 2-1, and then we're under a bit more pressure. But
yeah.
nice performance. Really pleased to see
Mm.
Keenan Davis finally getting his goal.
Mm.
Brilliant goal. Exactly what we want him to do. Take on a defender, beat him, and
Yeah.
smash it into the goal. There's no real finesse needed from Keenan. He can just smash it as hard as he can, and no keeper saving that into the roof of net. Brilliant.
No.
Really pleased for Ngakia. Glad that he's starting to come good. I think Chris Wilder's that kind of coach that can, develop fullbacks. We've seen him develop players at Middlesbrough, etc. And at Sheffield United,
Yeah.
He's developed those strong fullbacks, especially at Sheffield United, that are still, ever present in the team today. So hopefully, if he does decide to stay on after this season, Ngakia can become the next sort of focus of project for Chris Wilder, and really push on.
Yeah.
But other than that, yeah, good performance. That is the only way that I could ever see Britta Assombalonga scoring for Watford. Sort of crashing it off the goalkeeper, hitting him,
Yeah.
and fumbling it his way into the net. But a good assist for Kone. Yeah, but overall, I was really pleased and really looking forward to Wigan on Saturday. So we'll just run through our player ratings from Birmingham very quickly, and then we'll move on to speaking about the real Jekyll and Hyde performance that was Wigan Athletic at home. So if you want to kick things off with your player ratings, James, for the Birmingham game.
Yeah, of course. I mean, real quickly, in terms of a defensive unit, I gave Backman a 6, Porteous and Cathcart both with 7s, and Hoot an 8. I thought it was just really solid. I think Hoot scored higher because he just showed a little bit more attacking threat, and he dealt with a lot of situations quite nicely, and there were quite a few nice little balls played forward. So that's why he scored slightly high. But barring a couple of chances, the defence were untroubled, and we dealt with particularly set pieces really nicely on Saturday night, on Tuesday night. So 7s and 8s defensively. I've got Ngakia and Sema on an 8 and a 7. Ngakia really well played, even though it was sort of 60, 70 minutes on the pitch. But I thought he was a real shining light, and Sema was his usual solid self. And quickly, as an aside, I think Sema's fast becoming one of the most enjoyable signings that the club has made under the Pozzo era, in terms of I think you will always get a 7 out of 10 from him, and on a good day he'll be an 8, maybe a 9. So yeah, it was another one of his sort of standard performances. So pleased for him. Loser Kone and Bakuna, the scores were quite high for me on this one. Bakuna was a 9. Loser was a 7, and Kone was an 8. I think maybe slightly swayed by Bakuna impressing rather than it might not genuinely have been, a 9 worthy performance. But he looked so calm and composed in that sort of deep lying position, which just allowed Conan to move forward, and he mopped everything up, and his distribution was pretty good. So,
Yeah,
he scored a 9, and then João Pedro and Keenan Davis, both on sevens. Um, yeah, both on sevens. Subs wise, the game was done by the time most of the subs were made.
yeah,
So kind of the only notable one, everyone was a NA really, apart from Asombalonga, who kind of had to give him a 7 because he scored his first goal for the club.
yeah. Really nice, really nice. Well, I didn't watch the game in full, so I don't feel I can give real player ratings.
Yes,
Um,
I win this week.
so yeah, you take the win this week.
Get it.
So we will swiftly move on from real
Mm.
positive to, well, as I said before, the real Jekyll and Hyde performance that was
Yeah.
Wigan at home. I mean, I think it's going to be really difficult to actually give player ratings because I could have given any player a 7 or 8 out of 10 in the first half, and then any player a 2 or 3 in the second half. But yeah,
Yeah.
we'll try and make our way through those player
Mm.
ratings. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, so if it's all right, I'll start off with
Yeah,
some
go for it.
pointers from Wigan. So I think the first half was outstanding. Uh, really nice to see us put, a real Leicester's team under a lot of pressure. We've seen Preston at home, Rotherham at home, teams that are
Mm.
really nothing in the Championship, but we finally put them under some waves of attack, waves of pressure, and we thoroughly deserved the goal that Keenan Davis did eventually score. He had a
Mm.
gleaming chance 2 or 3 minutes
Yeah,
before that, which somehow he ballooned over the bar.
he was
But
offside.
not to worry, that he did then go on to score a really
Yeah.
amazing goal. But yeah, I finally went into a first half, finished at half time. I thoroughly enjoyed the half, and it's been
Mm.
really difficult. Like, under
Yeah.
Chris Wilder, I was just like, I'd really like to see Watford start a game well. And it was so
Mm.
nice just to see us come flying out the traps. They kept the ball for the couple of minutes at the start of the game, but we got into it. Then we pushed on, and they never gave any kind of a threat in the first half, other than that one
No.
shot that they had, which went
No.
quite far wide. But it was really really tight. I thought Ngaki was unbelievable, put in some great crosses. Didn't waste a single opportunity. Ngaki when he got down that right side. Um, but yeah, other than the
What?
miss from João Pedro, which was really quite strange, it's just his touch let him down at the end. I don't see what fault there was in the first half. I thought they
I
were
think.
really solid.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, yeah, you've kind of got the point exactly with the forcing of the errors. And that, when we spoke about Chris Wilder taking over,
Yeah,
we spoke about his high press, and those triggers and in the final third to force errors, and we were seeing that in full force. So
yeah,
it was great to see the amount of sloppy throw-ins and corners, and sort of turnovers in possession Wigan were conceding in that first half was,
yeah,
you know, you,
exactly.
you're probably in the tens in terms of
Yeah,
those kind of things that we saw. That was really encouraging. I thought what was very obvious was the instructions from Chris Wilder to Ngaki and Stemmer
yeah,
was get the ball in the box quickly, quick balls into the box, start whipping it in. And I think the only criticism that I would have had from that first half was the ability to finish
yeah.
chances and maybe get enough people in the box, or the runs in the final third were not quite there. But I think that only comes with time. If your instructions remain consistent, that you've got to the instructions are gonna be quick balls into the box. Players learn to adapt to that and make runs quicker.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
so my only criticism there was we had balls in position and some delicious balls were put in, particularly by Sema. Some real fizzed balls, which are just begging for a touch of anything.
yeah,
Um, and we'd have probably had maybe two, maybe three goals in that first half. But yeah, no, totally agree with you, mate. That first half was the kind of performance that we would want to see from Watford consistently.
Yeah, absolutely. Um, it's just really, really nice to see us, play some nice football, one-touch passes, moving the ball quickly. We spoke about Preston, how slow the tempo was, how little movement there
Yeah,
was. Um, but yeah, no, really nice. Ball was moving nicely. Like you said, the only real issue that I could probably see with the performance was the fact that it wasn't 2-3-0 when we went into the break, which would have put the game to bed.
I think
Whereas
so.
Wigan came out fighting and took the chance that Birmingham obviously didn't, which then sort of put the game on its head. I don't know if you wanted to
Yeah.
start with your thoughts on the second half.
Well, I think I think as you said, Wigan scored early in the second half. As we know. And it was, we spoke about Birmingham having a few chances at
Yeah,
the start of the second half. There is a running theme with Watford this season where we can't hold a lead or we start, halves slowly, particularly the second half.
yeah,
You can point to the Reading game, you can point to, plenty of games this season where we've held leads or, we've looked comfortable and we've sort of hit the self-destruct button. And I think as
mm,
soon as Wigan scored, you could see that the confidence just disintegrated um,
yeah,
within the team, which is a massive problem. I think the Wigan goal. I think the real problem with the Wigan goal, Backman's obviously has been taking quite a lot of stick on social media. Personally, not for me. I think it was actually, I think it was actually a really good header. But the errors were in the phases beforehand.
mm,
Um, João Pedro was brushed off the ball. Um, who was beaten in the air by the leap of McLean, and the ball was too easily to put into the box.
yeah,
And it's a good header, and he's put it into an area where it's very difficult for a goalkeeper with a ball coming at that height and speed to get to. Um, you know, if he'd have made the save, brilliant save, but you know, it's a tough one for me. But it was a good header. But we could have dealt with that better
yeah,
in the phases beforehand.
yeah,
I think you can't talk about Wigan without getting slightly frustrated with the gamesmanship that was being employed
yeah,
um, all afternoon, and it's just frustrating that that's what teams do when they play us, and it's going to be the same. For other top teams, they're going to teams at the bottom, teams that are desperate for a point, are just going to shut up shop um,
yeah,
and try and eke out time and slow things down. But you know, Wigan took it to another level, in
yeah,
my opinion.
yeah. I
You know,
mean,
it's not like the feigning head injuries, but they were so obvious in terms of walking off the pitch slowly, slowing down treatment to allow substitutes to be ready.
yeah,
You know, something has to be done. I thought the referee started quite well
yeah,
dealing with time wasting,
yeah,
but it kind of went astray in the middle part of the game where he only started, booking people for time wasting before it's too late. And I know it boiled over
yeah,
uh, on the touchline, but yeah, the second half was a real concern for me. I don't know what you think, mate, but they
mm,
just looked tired. They looked unfit. They conceded and we changed shape
yeah.
really quickly.
Another strange one for me.
And I think that just we lost our rhythm. Wigan could have gone on to win the game. They had, plenty of breakaway chances, and
Yeah,
Tommy Mooney was describing it as a basketball game by the end. Uh,
yeah,
and it was just end to end because there was no shape, there was no sort of system being put in place. I couldn't really explain any of the substitutions. I
no,
thought,
no, not at all.
so it was just a real concerning second half performance, which has again uh, tilted the the feeling around the club. We're talking like we lost. We
Yeah, I
only
know.
drew.
Yeah,
I know we drew, but we shouldn't be drawing that game, and
yeah,
we shouldn't have allowed Wigan back into it. But hey, those are my thoughts on the second half. Um, Alarming is probably how I would sum it up in
yeah,
terms of how poor and how quickly we dropped off.
yeah. Well, I think it's definitely concerning. I mean, we spoke about a little bit of pressure that Birmingham put us under just at the start of the second half. I think
Mm.
if we don't sort it out, bigger teams will destroy us in that 10,
Yeah,
15 minute period, and then it's impossible to recover a game. Um, I think it was very flat second half. Um, yeah, it's really it's really frustrating. We just looked like we didn't have a clue what was going on. Obviously, the goal is it's you could say it's a good header. You could say it's a fluke that it's just managed to squirm its way right into to the top corner. I don't think, as much as people like to slate Dan Backman, I don't think there's anything really he could do to get that. It's quite literally
I mean, he got a hand on it, didn't he?
it's as far into the corner as you can really get from a header from that distance. It's looped up, it's come back down, it hits the crossbar and
Yeah.
goes in. It's a real nothing header, but like you said, the phase beforehand, Zhao losing the ball, um, you know, yeah, it's really concerning that we could go from such highs to such lows so quickly, uh,
Mm.
and I don't really understand. I don't understand why that was the case. But then it really went south after that. Change of shape was really strange from Chris Wilder. Um, then to take off Ngakia, um, and Sema late on, and just it really just felt like he didn't really want to go for a win. He took off most of our best players. Um, it really baffled me changing to a back four because we looked so much better in the
Mm.
in the back five, other
Mm.
than QPR, but that's not really Chris Wilder's problem. QPR, um, but really we've looked so much better with the back five. I don't understand why he would then change to a back four. Seemed really really strange. Seemed strange to take off Ngakia when he was having a storming game. And put on Gaspar, who can't defend, he can't attack, he's not quick, can't put as good a ball in as Ngakia, he's not as hungry for the ball. That was an awful substitution. I'm sorry to say.
Tell us how you really feel.
Yeah, I don't want us to become one of those podcasts where you just vent your frustration, but I just
No, yeah,
I just didn't
no,
understand any of the substitutions from Chris Wilder. I think
I don't. Yeah, I'm with you on the change of shape. I just think we did it too early.
yeah,
Yeah, they yes, they equalised, and you could argue they equalised at the best time for us. Um, right at the start of the second half, and there was nothing to suggest really that that Wigan were gonna absolutely come at us.
yeah,
Um, and it almost felt like it was almost like we hit the panic button as soon as they equalised, and it
yeah,
was like, right, well,
definitely,
we've got to put two up top. We're gonna lose a defender, and I agree with you. That system for me, it's not a back five, it's a back three, and when we shifted to four at the back, we actually added to the amount of defensive players sort of sitting back.
yeah,
Um, Whereas, before you would have had Sema and Ngakia, you know, pushing forward.
yeah,
Um, yeah, the Ngakia sub was a bit of an odd one. He didn't look leggy at the time we went off.
no, no,
I thought of all the people who looked, of the wing backs, Sema was one who looked sort of tireder. But hey, we don't know what his situation is. We don't know what Ngakia's sort of training loads and has
yeah,
been. He's obviously only just sort of come back into the side, so they must have been managing him.
yeah, I suppose so.
But yeah, no, I agree with you on that one.
Yeah,
It was a bit of a weird set of decisions and substitutions, which I think just unravelled the side
And I
made
think,
life difficult
yeah,
for ourselves.
yeah, it is a little bit um, confusing, the substitutions. I mean, I'm just looking at them now. Um, Morris came on for Sema, Assombalonga for Bakuna. Um, you know, they're quite strange substitutions, if I'm actually being honest. Um, I don't understand why Arouge doesn't get a game. And if I'm being
There's,
honest, we keep treating him like this. Benfica are just not going to look to us to develop,
well, there's
future
clearly a
stars.
reason.
Yeah, he
There's
must
clearly there's
train
clearly
really
a reason
badly.
because now two managers haven't favoured him and haven't picked him.
Yeah,
Um,
which is
so
really
there's
weird.
clearly a problem. There's
Definitely.
clearly a problem
Yeah,
with his selection.
yeah.
Um, what did you think about João Pedro?
I thought it was the worst we've seen Zhao this season.
Mm,
It's interesting that before the game this week, um, he's been linked with Milan. Then, in the subsequent
yeah,
hours/day after the game, he was then in Milan.
yeah,
Um, so I don't know
yeah,
whether his mind was just not there. He had a golden chance in the first half. Any other day of the week he scores that. I just don't know why he didn't lift the ball over the keeper. He's obviously tried to round him. He's taken it too far wide.
yeah. Slightly sloppy
Um,
touch,
it
wasn't it?
just it just seemed like nothing was coming off for him at all. Um,
Yeah,
and then it just seemed like he was trying far too much. I mean,
yeah,
then it's just like, well, maybe you've got to gamble and take him off and put Asprilla on, because obviously he's not having a good game. But I don't know
mm,
how he'd react to being substituted early on. But I just think maybe that wasn't the game for Zhao to stay on, especially when we were chasing the game. He obviously wasn't there
yeah,
fully. Maybe then give Asprilla the chance to work with, Keenan and in the back five system, because he's come on
yeah.
late in both of them. It's just, yeah, nice to give him some more minutes. But obviously he did come on in the end in the back four. Um,
Yep, he looked bright again for me.
yeah, it did look bright, cutting in, being more direct. I do really like his cameos. I
Yeah,
don't think he's ready for a full 90 or to start, but I like him when he comes off the bench.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah,
Agreed.
those are sort of my thoughts. I just thought, it's so bright in the first half,
Mm,
really strange substitutions and decisions from Wilder in the second half. I think, like, rightly so. Like you said, they sort of conceded and went, oh, and then hit the panic
yeah,
button and just sort of tried to push on for it.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I think Arouge must be doing something really badly to be not being picked off the bench over a Sombalonga in a game where speed and pace was clearly killing Wigan in the first half, but we really shot ourselves in the foot. But I think the mentality is much improved. I think a few weeks ago we said that Preston at home, 85th minute, could have almost turned it off. I didn't feel like we were going to get anything from that game. Other than
Yeah.
other than a 0-0. But at least now, we're getting to the 85th minute. I'm like, well, something could happen. I think there's a bit
Well,
more attacking threat, but
I mean, I don't know. I'm less inclined to agree on that one. To be honest, I think once we hit 75 minutes, we're just on Saturday.
mm,
I felt like uh, I just didn't believe a winner was coming.
no, that's fair.
Um,
That's fair.
I think you're right. I think this I just think they're so fragile at the
Yeah,
moment that there's
yeah,
not a belief
yeah,
in the squad. I don't think they're mentally resilient enough. I think they
yeah,
can, set up, do their training and have a game plan. And then um, if it goes well, they grow in confidence. And if something goes against them, then they haven't got that ability at the moment to overcome that. And
yeah,
yeah, for me, that's why
yeah, yeah.
I think the
I
season's
can
done.
agree. I can agree. Yeah, and I also agree with that. I think the season is well and truly over now. I don't think there's any real hope of us
Mm.
getting playoffs. I'd just like us to beat them from up the road. That'll be my season done if we beat them.
Yeah,
Seems strange saying that phrase when we're so much further north than that, but
yeah. It's yeah.
I'd just take
Obviously,
that.
it's we're only 5 points off sixth,
Yeah,
and we go and beat Luton and results go our way. We're right back in it. But
yeah,
I think my concern is that just over the course of the season, we have not shown the consistency that is needed. I mean, look at this week. It's been a loss, win, draw. You know,
yeah,
that's about as mid table as you can get in the championship from a set of midweek fixtures. So
yeah, definitely.
um, we've got a chance, obviously, but and I still hope we will put some wins together. But does my head believe that we'll put enough points on the board to sneak us into the playoffs? No, no,
No,
I don't.
no. I mean, it is unfortunate. I mean, we thought we'd absolutely run away with the league with the squad that we had at the start of the season. Obviously, that was including Dennis. Um,
Yeah.
but I think it's been a real disappointment of a season. Rather than I'm not going to say it's a shambles. I mean, I think last season was the worst season I've seen really as a Watford fan, in
Mm,
actual memory. But
mm.
I just think it's been disappointing.
But
Such
yeah, yeah.
talent, such belief that there'd
Mm,
be a project and we could get behind it at the start of the season. Then it just sort of fizzled out. But
yeah.
um, we'll move on to some player ratings, very very quickly. Um, so yeah, I'll get this one. I'll get this one started. So defensively, I thought we were okay. I thought we were okay. Potentially could have done more for the goal. But yeah, I've sort of gone with quite middling. I thought Porteous was good again, but obviously he was taken off. So I've given Backman a 5, Hoot a 5, Cathcart a 6, Porteous a 7. Um,
Mm,
then moving on to the wing backs. And Ngaki, I gave him a 7. I think it could have gone up further if he'd stayed on the pitch. I thought he had a really good game. Sema,
yeah.
solid, give him a 6. You can almost bank on him getting at least a 6 in every game. Offers something going forward. Solid defensively. He works hard and he's definitely becoming a fan favourite. In the midfield, this would have been much higher if it was just based on the first half. But overall, I think Kone was the standout for me in the midfield. So I've given him a
Yeah.
7.
Yeah.
Then Bakuna and Lauza, I've given them both 6s because I thought they were really solid in the first half, especially
Yeah.
Lauza just dictating the pace of the game.
Yeah.
But then obviously Bakuna's gone off, and I think leaving Lauza and Kone on their own in the midfield in the 4 is probably what caused Wigan to get themselves back into the game, because with Zhao being there, he's probably not going to track back as hard, and they're going to have to do more running.
Mm.
With less cover behind them in the back 3. So that could probably be the reason why they're looking unfit or tired. Keenan Davis, I don't really remember much of him in the second half, but obviously he's had a great first half. So giving him a 7, obviously he's got a brilliant goal. Probably could have had 2.
Yeah.
And then unfortunately, the lowest for me this week is going to have to be João Pedro. I've given him a 4 this week for his
Yeah. I mean,
performance against
yeah.
Wigan.
No, I agree. I actually don't. I don't disagree with any
No,
of those scores.
yeah,
I think it was just a real sort of yeah middling performance.
yeah,
And I agree that Zhao was kind of the lowest score on there. He
yeah,
looked like he was just really trying too hard.
yeah,
It looks like he was trying to carry the team and do too much.
yeah.
So yeah, no, I don't disagree with any of those points in there, really, mate.
No,
So yeah,
yeah,
I'm happy with that.
yeah, definitely. Substitutions wise, I'm just looking at some of the notes here. We've got Aspria down for a 6 again. Agree with that. Solid performance off the bench once again. A little bit less involved than he was in, say, QPR. But I think another solid performance, another bit of
Yeah.
experience. I mean, he's growing with every game, really, isn't he? Gaspar, it's like he came forward after the Norwich game away and has gone backwards in a way. So I think a 5 is fair for Gaspar. Morris, I don't really understand why Sema was taken off, other than he potentially was a little bit leggy. I do feel bad for Morris, but I don't think he has the attacking intent to be a left wing back that Sema has. He's obviously really solid defensively, but I think in a back 5 he's going to struggle unless he becomes another Ngakia figure under Wilder and just develops that attacking threat, because he's got a great cross on him, but he's not the quickest. So he's got to adapt his game to be technically better going forward, rather than just trying to abuse pace and get a cross in. And a Sombolonga, yeah, I think a 5 is fair for Brit. He came on. I mean, yeah, he comes on. He throws himself about a bit. I think maybe Arouge deserves a start. Off the bench over Brit, but he's a proven championship goal scorer. I guess you gotta roll the dice and hope he comes good. But I think you couldn't really get any more than a 5 for his output. So yeah, I
I
don't
just don't think.
really disagree with any of those substitutions.
No,
Rating wise,
I don't think they added anything.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's disappointing way to end.
Yeah.
Talking about Wigan, I thought we were brilliant in the first half. It's a real shame that we sort of imploded in the second half. But we'll move on to a bit more of a pleasant topic, and we'll discuss some of the local results this week just before we end off things. So if we want to kick things off with Boston United getting a 1-0 win over Bradford Park Avenue, which takes them slightly away from that relegation scrap in the National
big
League.
result for them.
Which is really a big result. They've lost a key player in Scott Pollock in the last couple of weeks. He's moved on to Yeovil, so be interesting to see how they fare up. But hopefully they got a decent chunk of money for that young prospect, and hopefully he goes on to something
always
bigger and
always
better.
keeping out for Boston United.
Yeah,
They're a club with a setup that should be higher than the National League
definitely.
regional divisions. So
Yeah.
hopefully they can sort themselves out, because it was looking dicey for them at the early part of the season. So glad they've got some results and they're moving up the table.
Definitely, yeah. Really pleased that they are suddenly starting to kick on a little bit. In other news, Skegness Town beat Heather St John's 2-0. That keeps them in 8th place in their respective league. Obviously, in the FA Cup, the big result, the quarter-final, Brighton unfortunately dismantled Grimsby 5-0. I thought
great day
maybe
out.
after Southampton they could push on, maybe Grimsby nick a 1-0, but unfortunately they were put to the sword by a really impressive Brighton.
The Battle of the Seaside Towns.
The Battle of the Seaside Towns, absolutely.
Hopefully they're giving them a bit of money.
Definitely,
and they can invest that wisely. So
yeah,
fair play to them for getting that far. They did better than we did.
absolutely, they did do better than we did. So moving on to a little bit of news. So we've seen this week from Adam Leventhal that there is not going to be a contract extension for Ismail Assar, as talks broke down last window, and it is more than likely to be confirmed that Sarr will leave in the summer window. To who or for what price tag, nobody really knows. We've seen Palace, Villa be interested in the 25-year-old Senegalese winger, but I think it's the right decision. I think he needs to move on for the sake of his own career. Noticeably that he's been dropped by Senegal, whether that's for an injury concern.
That was injury related, wasn't it? So he can carry on his rehab at the club.
That's more than fair enough. But I think, moving on for the sake of his career, getting regular football
Yeah,
under the same system for at least a season or two will do him the world of good, because we know he's brilliant, but unfortunately he's really inconsistent, which is the most frustrating thing about him.
I think yeah, and you make a good point that he needs to move on for his own sake, and
Yeah,
that's the saddest thing for me as a Watford fan
yeah,
is that for such a long time we were a club that was you know praised for its development of young players and giving youth a chance and putting players onto bigger and better things. And we've for me we've failed Ismaila
yeah,
um,
yeah. I
in
think
his
so too.
development. I think he's had too many mixed messages. He's had too many coaches. He's
Yeah,
had too many different systems, and he's just never really um, been allowed to settle in a style of play.
yeah,
And you know, I think he can only really go with the club's blessing. I hope we get some good money for him,
yeah,
because he's a wonderful talent and a brilliant footballer.
yeah,
Um, so he's definitely worth it. But yeah, that's the thing for me. I feel like we've let him down.
yeah. I think, like I said, he needs to move on for the sake of his career, um,
Yeah.
and try and sort it out for the last 7 8 years of his footballing career. So
Mm.
next Saturday is obviously the big derby away at Luton. So if you are listening and you did manage to get yourself a ticket, first of all, congratulations, and
Yeah.
second of all, I hope it's a brilliant away day, and I hope everyone really stays safe. We don't want to have any fights or any Watford fans or Luton fans getting hurt in
Yep.
the pre or post, post match, because we've seen what happened with that Blackpool fan, and I hope that does not happen to either sets of fans. So we will bring you a reaction, hopefully
Yep.
with a Derby Day win post
Here's
post
hoping.
Luton, hoping that we come away from there with the 3 points and a good performance.
Yep.
But if not, we'll still be here with another reaction, and
Well,
another
yeah.
pod. But yeah,
we-
we'll be there.
We've got a international break, haven't we? In the meantime, so
Yeah,
we need to decide whether or not we'll have we'll reconvene in the international break to
yeah,
discuss,
of course,
or
yeah.
maybe have a slightly more light-hearted uh,
Hopefully so.
podcast.
Yeah, hopefully
We've had
so.
3 ones which have been pretty tough, uh,
Yeah,
going over
yeah,
uh, going over the difficulties and the challenges. So maybe we'll do something a bit more light-hearted next time.
yeah. Absolutely. But that is everything for this week's edition of the Yellow
Yeah,
Squared podcast. We do hope you have enjoyed. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you have anything else to say. If you disagree with any of our opinions, probably most definitely James's, because they're wrong. But
yeah, always.
we'll see you in the next one, potentially in the international break, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks, guys. Keep smiling.